Okay, it's the second part of chapter 3, so you can compare your resolution to the resolution that Anne Fine has written to this chapter. Bill tried to pull back. Mrs. Collins turned in astonishment at his unwillingness and let go of his hand quite suddenly. Bill staggered back, straight into Nicky, who had just prized the top off his paint tube. A huge glob of pink paint flew up in the air and landed on Bill Simpson's frock. As everyone watched, it gathered itself, all fat and heavy at the bottom. Then slowly it slithered down between the folds of material, leaving a thick pink slug trail. Bill Simpson watched in silence as a small pool of pink paint appeared on the floor beside his left foot. Grubby finger paints round the hem, a huge muddy smudge on the front, a great slimy paint smear down the side. What next? Mrs. Collins inspected the damage and shrugged. Well, never mind, she said. It's only poster paint. I'm sure the frock will wash out beautifully. And once again she took his hand. There was no fight left in Bill Simpson. Meekly he allowed himself to be led to the middle of the room. Mrs. Collins arranged him neatly and comfortably on the little wooden chair. There, she said triumphantly, placing a cherry-coloured exercise book in one of his hands as a last touch. All pink. She stepped back to admire her handiwork. Perfect, she said again. Now is everyone happy? Bill Simpson could have tried to say something then, but he didn't bother. He reckoned there was no point. He knew that, whatever he said and whatever he did, this awful day would just keep sailing on its own way, as in a dream. A curse was on him, a pink curse. He was, of all things, haunted by a pretty pink frock with fiddly shell buttons. He might as well give up struggling. Like poor Rapunzel trapped in her high stone tower, he'd just sit quietly, waiting to see what happened, hoping for rescue. Meanwhile, the rest of the class had begun to complain. If we've only got pink to paint with, how are we supposed to do that great big football-shaped smudge on the front of his frock? It's brown. I can't paint all those grubby little fingerprints right around the hem of his dress because they're grey. Those shell buttons are a bit fiddly to paint. I've done far too many freckles. What shall I do? Wait till they dry and then chip some off. Bill ignored everyone. He just sat there, waiting for time to go by. Even a bad dream couldn't last forever. His torment had to end sometime, surely. After half an hour or so, Mrs. Collins came by, carrying a fresh jar of water over to table 2. Do try not to look so gloomy, dear, she murmured in Bill's ear as she walked past. You're spoiling everyone's pictures. And Bill was too miserable and defeated even to bother to scowl at the back of her head as she moved off.